Hello and welcome to our Akamai Image Manager 4.0 webinar. My name is Jessica Mills and I'm a marketing manager on the developer relations team. I'd like to first thank you for your time in joining us today to learn about some exciting enhancements we have for our Image Manager product, particularly around the beta release of our new video optimization capability. Before we get started, I just want to make sure everyone is aware that after our webinar, you will receive a follow-up email with a recording of today's session. You can also find additional resources within the resource list module, which includes a copy of the slide deck and a link to join the Image Manager 4.0 beta. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please send that to us via the Q&A module. And at the end, we'll have time to answer your questions. But if for any reason we don't have enough time to get to your question, we'll make sure we reach out to you directly. Well, let's get started. Today, we'll be providing you with an overview of Akamai Image Manager, followed by a deeper dive into our new video capability, the various transformations we have and how to manage those with policies, as well as our media viewer feature. At the end, again, we'll have time for Q&A, so please do feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar. I'm really excited today to introduce our two speakers. We're really lucky to have Mo Abulmag, our lead product line manager for Image Manager, as well as Javier Garza, our developer evangelist. Now I'll let Mo take it away and talk about Image Manager.
Great. Thanks, Jess. Hey, everyone. So like Jess mentioned, my name is Mo Abulmeg, and I'm a lead product line manager here at Akamai, responsible for the Image Manager product, and really super excited to talk to you guys about what Image Manager does, some of the really cool features that we've released over the last year or so, and talk about some of the cool new features that we're releasing this year, in particular the video optimizations that we announced in beta that have already started. So just to give everyone a really quick overview of Image Manager, the idea behind Image Manager is to enable you to deliver images and now short videos at really high qualities without having to sacrifice on performance or having to sacrifice on bloating the weight of your page or the weight of your apps. As we've seen over the last few years, there's been a real change in how you're delivering web experiences to your end users. Over time, end users are demanding richer and richer web experiences, and typically that means more and more images on the page, or that these images are becoming heavier and heavier in weight to be able to support these really new high-resolution displays that are coming out. One of the consequences of delivering more images onto a website or delivering heavier images is you start to see a negative performance impact for your end user, which is never a good thing. So traditionally, what a lot of developers have struggled with in trying to deliver these really rich experiences to their end users is how do you do it in a way that doesn't impact the performance of your site? There's a lot of cool best practices out there to be able that can help you in doing that. So things like leveraging the right image format for the different devices and browsers that are out there. So for example, leveraging WebP for Chrome. Other types of best practices like ensuring that you're sending down images that aren't larger than the device. But even leveraging those requires a lot of thought, a lot of planning, and typically requires a lot of logic to be written on the client side to be able to parse that really complex decision tree to ensure that you're delivering the right image to the right device. Effectively, what Image Manager allows you to do is to ensure that the perfect image is delivered to the right device every single time. One of the ways that we're able to do this is we have tremendous insights into all of your end users. Whenever a request is made, we know the device that the user is coming in from, we know the browser the user is coming in from, and then with Image Manager's technology, we can actually analyze the image itself. And based off of all of this information, we can make really intelligent decisions for you to ensure that the right image is delivered to the end user every time. So we can apply some automatic image optimizations. For example, whenever the user comes in from Chrome, we'll automatically deliver an image that's a WebP. Whenever the user comes in from an iOS device, we'll automatically deliver a JPEG 2000 in most situations. We've also built out a technology called perceptual quality. So effectively what this capability does is it'll analyze the image and reduce the quality level right down to the point where the human eye can't perceive a difference. And that's all in the spirit of how do we squeeze out as many bytes as possible without sacrificing the visual fidelity of the image. Image Manager also contains capabilities to enable you to create any artistic variant that you want to create. So for example, as you're designing your website, if there's a use case for a certain type of crop that you need to perform, or if there's a use case for a certain type of watermark that needs to be applied, rather than having to create these images ahead of time manually, save them, store them, maintain them, and then update them when new devices and new browsers come out, are released. You can leverage Image Manager to do these different artistic transformations for you and do it dynamically and on the fly so that you save a single pristine image and then leverage Image Manager's unique transformations to be able to create any variant that you need to meet your business and your technical and your design requirements. And later on in this webinar, Javier is going to take us through a few examples on how exactly we can accomplish that. One of the other really cool things that Image Manager provides you as well is the ability to enhance the end user experience via client-side code. So as part of the release that we did last year, we now can provide you the ability to embed what's called a media viewer inside of your applications. So it's an HTML5 snippet that you can take and drop into your code that'll then give your end users the ability to do zoom and 360 spins of your images on your web pages or on your applications, all in the spirit of improving the end user experience. And later on in this webinar, we'll go into a little bit more detail of what exactly the viewer does and show you some of the configuration options to enable different types of experiences for your end user. So let's talk about the capabilities that we released this year. And like just mentioned earlier on, we just announced the beta capabilities for Image Manager 4, where the focus is really on optimizing short videos. So in the past, we've delivered really good capabilities to be able to optimize images based off the end user device, browser, operating system, et cetera. We're now going to be releasing this type of capability for short videos as well. So, and there the spirit is to try to ensure that as you're delivering these rich experiences to your end users and you're extending the experience by not only delivering images but also delivering short videos, we can give you the capabilities to be able to do that in a way without having to sacrifice on performance or having to sacrifice on overburdening the end user with a lot of bytes to download. So specifically what that means is whenever an end user requests a short video, then you can use Image Manager to automatically optimize the resolution of that video. So for example, if the resolution of the video being delivered to the end user is much bigger than the end user's device, we'll automatically optimize that resolution to something that's reasonable for the device. We'll also automatically optimize the format of the video. So for example, if an end user is requesting MP4 on an Android or a Chrome browser, then we'll automatically convert that to the right format, which is usually in that situation using VP9 encoding and delivering a WebM format. And we'll also give you the capabilities to optimize the quality or the bitrate of the video as well. Really similar in the way that we are doing it, leveraging our perceptual quality that I talked about on the previous slide. The video capabilities we're rolling out are going to be progressive video downloading, and we do have streaming on our roadmap, and we're really, really excited to build out more and more of these capabilities as time goes on. One of the really unique features of Image Manager is that it's origin agnostic. So effectively what that means is you can keep your pristine images and your pristine videos in any storage location that you want. There's no upload process to us. There's no disruption to your existing workflow. You just layer Image Manager on top of whatever your existing storage device is, and will automatically transform these images and transform these videos for you. So really easy to get started with really minimal disruption to your existing workflows and your existing processes. And the video capabilities that we're rolling out are going to work in the exact same way. And as mentioned, the beta is open now, so check out the link that we've got on the screen right now, or go to the developer.akamai.com onto the Image Manager page, and you can learn more about the video beta there and sign up for access. So now why don't we switch gears, and I'll show you the video capabilities working live. So to do that, I'm going to pull a real-life example of a video that's out there on the web today. So like I mentioned, we're really focused on enabling you to optimize short videos. So think of those as product videos that you might put up on your retail websites, instructional videos that you might put up on your different websites or applications, short marketing videos, short news clip videos, ad videos, etc. So the example that I have on the screen is of a short marketing video. So this is a video that is on the apple.com site, and it's a marketing video about the iPhone 10. So what you can see on the screen is some of the details of this video. So for example, if you look on the lower left-hand side, you notice that the video is about 1 minute 30 seconds in length. And when you look at the URL of this video up in the address bar, based off of the extension, you can tell that this is an MP4. So again, the functionality that Image Manager's video optimization features are going to provide is the optimization of these videos to reduce its weight without sacrificing visual fidelity. And we're going to do that by optimizing the format, the quality, and the resolution. So for this demo, I want to show you how we can optimize the format of this video automatically. So we've got this video downloaded, and we've uploaded it to our demo account. And I'm requesting this video on a Chrome browser. Now, as the request comes in, and this works in the same way for both our videos and for our images, we automatically know everything about the end user. We know the browser, the operating system, and we can actually analyze the asset as it comes in as well, so that we can make intelligent decisions for you on your behalf in terms of optimizing the format, resolution, etc. So let's take a look at what exactly is happening to this video. To do that, I'm going to use a Chrome extension that we've built called Piez, P-I-E-Z. Now this extension is available in the Chrome Store, and if you go into Google right now and type P-I-E-Z Chrome Store, you'll be able to download this extension and install it for yourself. And effectively what this does is it shows you the types of transformations that Image Manager is performing underneath the covers. Now I want to draw everyone's attention to the row down here at the bottom. Underneath URL is the video URL or the video request that I just made. Again, you'll notice that this is an MP4 based off of the extension. Because I'm on Chrome, because I'm on a MacBook, Image Manager did its analysis and said that WebM using VP9 encoding is actually the right format for me to try to deliver on the results of reduced weight without sacrificing visual fidelity. And you can tell that a WebM was delivered by looking underneath the transform type column. One of the other things that we did to this video as well, which isn't shown here in the details of this screen, but we also adjusted the bitrate to try to reduce the weight as well without sacrificing visual fidelity. And the end result is what was a 83 megabyte video that was being delivered has now been reduced down to just below 8 megabytes in size. So a lot of optimizations happening automatically for our end users, and it didn't require us to change any code or change any of the URLs. As these requests go through Image Managers, these types of optimizations happen for you automatically. Now, I want to show you one other example. Let's pretend there's a use case where you know that you need a certain video, a video of a certain resolution. For example, let's say you know that you need a resolution of 480 for a specific use case that you have. What Image Manager can also give you the ability to do is request specific types of resolutions to be delivered. And the way that we do that is by controlling via the query string parameter. So if you take a look at my address bar, all I've done is I've appended a query string parameter with the instructions IAM_width equals 480 to Image Manager. And what this does is it tells Image Manager that I want you to take the original video, and I want you to resize the resolution to 480 and deliver that out to my end user. And we'll take a look at the details using VLC just to make sure that it actually is 480. And when you open up this video inside of VLC, you'll notice that the resolution did change, is now 480, and that's what's being delivered out to all of our end users who are requesting this specific URL. One of the other things to note as well is not only was the video resized, it was also optimized for format. So underneath the same column, transformed image type, you'll see the transform type, and we'll be updating this Chrome extension shortly to change the words images to videos in the appropriate situations. You'll notice that a WebM got delivered using VP9 encoding. So not only can Image Manager enable you to deliver and request the specific resolution you're asking for, it'll also optimize the format for you automatically based off of the end user situation. And in this case, the video gets resized from 83 megabytes down to 4 megabytes. So really powerful, really great to use in situations where you want to decrease the byte size, so for example, in mobile situations. So those are the demos I wanted to share with you on some of the few capabilities that we're rolling out with the short video optimizations as part of Image Manager. There's a lot more capabilities coming as well that we'll be rolling out more information for. And again, I encourage everyone to go and check out the developer.akamai.com site to learn more about those capabilities and sign up for the beta. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Javier, who's going to do a little bit of a deep dive in terms of how do you get started with our Image Manager policies.
Cool. Thank you very much, Mo. All right. Hi there. I'm Javier Garza. I'm a developer evangelist at Akamai. I work with Jessica here in San Francisco in the developer relations team. By the way, if you don't know Jess, she's one of the most amazing persons I ever worked with. Always wondering how she managed to do so many things so fast and so well. Our team is very small. We manage a few websites, like one of the ones that Mo mentioned, the developer.akamai.com. And if you've been listening to web performance talks, you know you need to ensure your website loads under 2 seconds under most network conditions, even if you are on a cellular and slow network. And to do that, usually one of the recommendations is to keep the weight of your pages under 2 megabytes and to use, of course, content delivery networks so you minimize the latency. So enough talk. I'm going to basically show you, do a demo of how we use Image Manager in our website and developer.akamai.com, how we optimize the different images, and then I will show you how you can configure the policies that cause those optimizations to happen through the UI, through an API as well. All right. I included, although I'm going to do everything with terminal and a web browser, I included a few slides here just to cover basically what I will be showing. Basically, we'll be showing some of the transformations like crop, resize, and so on. Then this is the UI that we'll be using for the one that you have. The first screenshot is basically the Image Manager, Policy Manager UI, where you can use a graphical interface, add policies, edit policies, push to staging and production, and so on. The second UI screenshot that you see here, and by the way, you don't need to take notes. I put everything in a GitHub repository that I'm going to share with you in a moment. This is basically the one-time thing you need to do to enable Image Manager and your configuration on your website. Just a couple of clicks. All right, I added also a couple of links. These are the links that we'll be reviewing that will show how we optimize different images on the website. And also how you can do it with variable support. So basically not just executing a policy automatically with whatever we have configured, but also you can on the fly adapt it by using query strings. So we'll be showing that as well. And here's the links I included, all the URLs that will be shown in the demo as I'm about to start to share my screen. All right, let me start my screen share. So basically we have, this is the Akamai console, the Luna Control Center in control.akamai.com. And here's the UI, the graphical user interface you can use to configure your policies and activate them and so on. I got here by clicking configure and image manager. Let me make it bigger so you can see policy manager. And then I selected my policy, I click manage. And as you can see on this screen, we have basically 7 policies. We have one called conditional letterbox, conditional orientation. These two basically, they are enabled depending on the type of image. So there is something called conditional, which is one of the new features we announced. Then we have other things like a crop, normal manipulations, filter, resize, and watermark. We are going to explain some of them, how they work, and how this is configured under the covers. Okay, for example, let's say I'm the filter, if we take a look using the UI, you can see basically this policy, what it does is auto crops the image to, it detects a face, the biggest face in this case. So we have here the focus on the biggest face, so we'll crop that. Then we'll resize it to 1000 by 1000. And we will convert it to grayscale, so black and white. And then another thing we'll do is we'll optimize the image, basically, so that is much smaller. All right, so all these 4 operations are done at once. And let's see how this applies. So the other thing I'm going to show is this Git repository I created. So basically, if you go to github.com/javiergarza/im-demo, and that was in one of the links I indicated in the slide. So you can see basically all the sample files that I'm going to show, the screenshots for example, the image manager, the property manager, you can see here the UIs that I showed. You can see also the different JSON policies. This is basically how to configure vAPI, explaining how it works. Here is the link to the PIES demo that Mo indicated, how you can just click there. And here we have also the HTTP commands that I'm going to run today, which basically HTTP is a CLI command line interface that basically allows you to easily work with APIs. And we are going to use this tool to be able to see our policies through an API perspective, and how we can just, for example, download a policy, edit it, and push it to the network, right? So the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to open 2 websites. Let me close it so you can see how they open. The first one is developer.akamai.com. I'm going to go to APIs. I'm going to search for image manager, and I'm going to click here. And this is basically where you have the reference to the different API calls that you can do and so on. For example, we will be using the get a policy and create and modify a policy. We'll be doing these 2 calls on the demo. Another thing I'm going to open right now is I'm going to open again developer.akamai.com, and I'm going to open the Chrome developer tools you can see here. So I'm right now in the network panel, and if I refresh this, I can see my homepage, it was 50 requests, and it's 1 megabyte total. And I mean, if we select images here, we can see the different images that we have. We have around 21 images out of the 50 objects in the page. And if I go to the PIES plugin, and let me reload so this loads my information, I can see that actually my page is 1 megabyte because Image Manager managed to optimize the image and save me 2.2 megabytes. So the page, the original page that we have with the images, it was 3.2 megabytes, and thanks to the Image Manager, you know, we got down to 1, which is perfect to ensure the page loads really fast. You can see, if you scroll down, you can see each image, how much it optimized. For example, in this case, we have an image, the last one, that went from 879Ks to 168, right? Let me show, for example, how the different optimizations work. And then we can dig on how you can configure some of them. For example, we have a filter, you know, which is one policy I created, the policy I created that I showed you in the example before, that basically what it does is autofocus on the face, crops the face, and puts in black and white and optimizes it. So let me show you the original image, which is this one. This is a 7.1 megabytes of a stock image in high quality, which is what we have in our storage. And if I basically modify the URL to indicate the policy filter, I could do this by adding my HTML or just putting in the Akamai configuration and done it automatically. So I'm going to open it in a new window. And you can see how the optimization looks like. So basically you can see here was the original and automatically detected the face, crop it 1000 by 1000 and put it in black and white. And if we check PIES, we can see an image that was 7 megabytes, it's now 85 kilobytes. So it's like a 98.8 less bytes. All right. Let's switch to APIs. For example, how can I automate the working with the policies? All right, that's where the API comes into effect. So it's super simple. One thing you need to do is you make a GET request. For example, if I want to pull all my policies that I have configured, remember that I had 7 here. Let me go back to the UI where it lists all the policies. So basically, I'm going to make an API call that is going to list all my policies with all the exact settings I'm using. So to do that, what I need to do is basically run this call, which is a simple GET request, and I specify this token, but basically tells to list the policies from the one I'm using for developer.akamai.com. All right. So I'm going to basically copy the commands I have in the GitHub repository and explain them how they work. So this is the first one. So before I run it, let me explain you all the different steps. HTTP stands for HTTP, which is basically this command line interface. You can install it. You can install it basically. But let me clear the screen so you can see it better. It's a command line tool. You can install it with Homebrew or however you want. For example, Homebrew will be brew install HTTP. And I have also installed HTTP, the plugin for the authentication for the Akamai API is called EdgeGrid. I included the link that explains how to do that in the slides, and it's also as well in the GitHub repository. So the next thing, so basically I say here, use the authentication for Akamai APIs. Then I have my credentials in a configuration file, and I say I have many credentials, and I say use exactly these credentials for this use case, so I can switch between different accounts and different credentials. And this is basically the endpoint that I'm requesting. You can see it's exactly the same as this one, imaging B2 policies. And then I'm indicating the token, which is basically the policy that I want to request. All right, if I request this one, you can see I get all the different APIs. So there are 7, so you can see they are all listed here. Okay, this command is kind of long. So one thing I can do to type less, I love to optimize things, is use sessions and HTTP. So if I type session here, and I call it, for example, tag imaging, you can see the request works the same. But from now on, I can just simplify my call, and instead of using all the different parameters, I can just do it like this, right? So you can see it's much shorter. I say use the same parameters I used in the previous call for all my requests going forward. Okay, so you can see this works and returns exactly the same. All right. Next thing we are going to do now is, I could return the output to a file and save all the JSON in a file. Let's see, I'm going to use JQ, which is another command line utility that basically allows you to filter JSON. And I am going to add it to the command I ran before. And this is going to list me just the names of my policies. So in a way, you can see I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? The same as the other one. Cool. One thing we are going to do now is I'm going to request a specific policy. I'm going to save it in a file. I'm going to edit, and I'm going to resubmit it with a different name. For example, let's take a look at the conditional letterbox. Let me show you this one. That's pretty cool. So let me show you what this does. So the conditional letterbox, basically what it does is it gets an image, and if the image is in portrait mode, it will resize it to a square of 300 by 300. And then basically, if the image it will fill the empty space automatically. I will optimize the image. So let me show you how it works. So if this is our original image, right, which is portrait, I'm going to add the query strings and see what happens. All right, so nothing happens, and let's see why nothing happens, okay? So we are going to debug this by using the API. So I'm going to pull my letterbox policy, and I'm going to save it to a file called conditional-letterbox.json, all right? So it's downloading, so I'm going to edit it. And this looks a little bit not so nice. I'm going to make it human readable by making go through JQ. So if I edit now, it looks much better. Cool. So here we have the conditional letterbox. Let's say I want this policy to only apply to portrait images. So I could, for example, delete I could delete this section, all right, and resubmit. Let me, oh, sorry, I forgot to reload. So this is how the image got applied, the filter. So you can see in the policy that we created, we say if the image is portrait mode, which it was in our case, we do a 300 by 300 resizing, and the sides of the images, the empty space, will fill it with a fit and fill, right? That's how it works. And if we do the same with another file that is in landscape, because this policy has two conditions, also applies to, it will do the same exactly for landscape, okay? I could do it only for portrait, but in this case, this is a double policy with two conditions. All right, let's see another example of conditional. For example, in this case, orientation, how we can automatically rotate images. Let's take a look at the policy. So I'm pulling it in real time from the API, via an API. And we can see this policy, what it does is it takes an image. If the image is in landscape, I will rotate it 90 degrees, all right? So this is this is the policy I was going to show. So basically, if I apply this on an image that is portrait, it's not going to do anything because I have configured that it's a condition, the image needs to be landscape. So let's try this on an image. So I'm going to, this image is, the original one is portrait. So if I apply it, you can see it returns me the original image because this policy only applies to landscape images. Let me find an image that is landscape so you can see how this applies. For example, I have this one here, which is the banner that we use in our blog for announcing this webinar. You can see here, this is a landscape. So if I just add the query string here to the image, it should do the rotation, right? So you can see the rotation work. And in this case, it only applied to landscape images as we have configured in our policy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this policy and create a new one to ensure we rotate also portrait images. All right, so that's very simple. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the same call. I'm going to pipe it to JQ so we can read the output. And I'm going to send it to a file, which I'm going to call it conditional orientation 2.json, right? So it's pretty quick. You can see we got it. So I'm going to edit the file. And I'm going to just basically change this with portrait. And we will rotate 90 degrees. Well, actually, let's do 180 just for fun. All right. So I just I copy an existing policy and I edit it really quick. And now I'm going to push it to the network, to the image manager. And to do this is super simple. The only thing I need to do is I need to say I want to put, which is basically, let me show you in the documentation again, the call I'm going to run. I'm going to run this call here, which basically I need to use a put method and basically tell the policy name I want to create and pass a JSON body showing the configuration. So I have the JSON body already. I'm giving the method put, and here's the name for my policy. So if I run this one, it will take a few seconds. And this call, what it's doing is basically it's creating a new policy and automatically pushing to the network, right? So it says policy created. And if I retry one of the commands that we ran before to list the policies, we should see this one. We should see the new one we just created, which we can see here, all right? So you can see it's super simple to manipulate policies and manage through APIs as well. If I go back to the user interface and I reload the page, we should see also the new policy that we just created using the API, which is getting is pending activation in production. All right. So with this, I'm going to pass it back to Mo so that we can continue. I hope this has been useful. And again, here is the GitHub repository where you have all the examples and all the code. If you want to download one of the files, you can just go here and you have exactly this. And you can basically use the same commands to use one of the policies I show you and apply it to your website, right? With this, I'm passing to Mo. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Javier. So in addition to all the cool stuff that we've shown you guys so far, so the video optimizations and reducing the weight of the videos automatically without sacrificing the visual fidelity, and then the really powerful transformations that Image Manager provides to be able to create any variants that you want to meet your technical and your artistic requirements, and also be able to do that within certain pieces of logic as well, like Javier showed with conditional policies. We've also got a new capability that we rolled out last year called the Media Viewer. So I talked about the Media Viewer a little bit at the beginning of this webinar, but effectively when you're thinking of that ultimate goal that all of us are trying to achieve of improving the end user experience, it's not only improving the user experience by delivering high quality imagery or improving the end user experience by delivering the best performing images or by creating different types of transformations and effects for the images. There's also how you display the images. So one of the really big requests that we've had since we've launched Image Manager is for an out-of-the-box viewer. So HTML5 code that you can just, code widget that you can drop on your applications or into your HTML pages that just automatically out of the box give your end users a more engaging experience. So things providing capabilities like zoom, where you can just hover over an image and then be able to zoom into certain details of the image to take a closer look. Really cool and really powerful in situations like on retail sites where you want to take a closer look at that product before you actually hit the buy button. And providing experiences like 360 spin. So for example, if you're shopping for a car and you want to go onto the website, get a good feel for what that car looks like all around, you can leverage something like the Media Viewer from Image Manager to be able to display that car and show the images of it in a really cool 360-degree spin type of fashion so that your shoppers and your end users feel more comfortable and more confident before they actually do the purchase. So the Media Viewer is available, and in the next, as soon as we get through this slide, I'll dive into some details via demo to show you exactly how the Media Viewer works and show you some of the different configuration options that come as well. One of the really cool things about the Media Viewer and something that we really focused on is to ensure that it's tied into Image Manager capabilities. So that means it's fully integrated with all the Image Manager capabilities that we've touched on today and all the ones that you can find on our documentation. So all the images that get presented via the Media Viewer are automatically optimized to reduce weight without sacrificing visual fidelity by ensuring that the right format gets delivered, the right size of the image gets delivered, and the right quality level is set as well. And it's easily customizable. So there's a lot of out-of-the-box customization options that you can pick to change the look and feel of the viewer. And if you do want to do something more custom, something to fit like a certain theme that's really particular to your organization or your device or your company, you have access to the source code. Use your own CSS, edit things. You can really customize it in any way that you see fit. And then on top of that, it's also automatically responsive. So we know that mobile has completely taken off. A lot of users are now coming in over mobile devices to do their shopping or to do their pre-shopping. So your viewer should, and your images in general, should automatically be optimized for the different mobile devices. The viewer should act no differently. So the media viewer, that's a part of Image Manager, automatically responsive for the different viewports that the user is on, and is mobile aware as well. So for example, when it switches over to iPhone, the gestures change to, instead of being a click between the different thumbnails, you can swipe like you would naturally on a different mobile device. All that is baked into the viewer to try to make it a lot easier for you to get up and running and deliver this really cool experience to your end user that's also optimized. So why don't we take a look at a quick demo? All right, so what I'm showing on the screen is our media viewer documentation. So this comes with a lot of information on how to use the viewer, how to integrate it into your site, how to leverage some of the cool performance features we've got in the viewer as well. So for instance, being able to asynchronously load an image while the rest of the viewer JavaScript is loading up so that your users get a really, really fast experience and you can really make those perceived performance metrics boost so that for each of your end users. So some of the types of capabilities that the viewer comes out of the box with are being able to display different thumbnails, like I've got on the left-hand side here, and being able to do zoom, like I'm showing here on the screen. Different types of zoom configuration. So in this case, we're showing a right-hand flyout zoom. There's different kinds of zooms as well, which I'll show you guys in a second. And the display options that come out of the box, like I mentioned, there's a number of them. So here's an example of switching the display from showing the actual images via thumbnails. You're showing the thumbnails via dots. So something depending on how your organization wants to make the look and feel of the site be presented to the user. And in this particular example, rather than having the zoom be flied out to the side, the zoom is actually in line with the image itself. So really easy to configure via configuration file that comes directly with the viewer that you can just edit to give yourselves different types of experiences. Mentioned that there was 360 spin as well. So one of the cool features of the viewer is you can mix and match different types of experiences you want to deliver. So here's an example going back to that car website that I mentioned. If you're selling cars or if you're going onto a car website, where we have the thumbnails along the bottom. The zoom is inline, so I can look at different details. And in addition to the zoom, there's also a 360 pane here as well. So we can show different types of 360 experiences to your end users, so they get a full immersive experience before they go and click buy on this car. And again, like I mentioned earlier, every single one of the images that we're displaying is completely integrated with Image Manager. So the images are fully optimized, the formats are going to be optimal for the end user, et cetera. They're getting resized, and the viewer is fully responsive. So as the viewport changes, the viewer layout will change, along with the image sizes as well. And just diving in a little bit deeper into the 360 spin use case, there's a lot of cool out-of-the-box capabilities you can do to present different types of 360 spin experiences to your users. So for example, if you want the 360 spin to autoplay and give your user a video-like feel, you can do that, very similar to what I'm showing here. There's likely a lag as it goes through the webinar, through the webinar Wi-Fi. So if you check this out live, you can take a look at it and you can see the image begin to autoplay without the lag. And you can do different types of overlays as well. So here's an instance of a 360 spin, which won't actually kick off until you press the play button overlay. And then as soon as you press it, the 360 spin begins to autoplay. And I can still have the ability to drag and take a look at certain aspects of the spin. So again, viewer fully available, tied into Image Manager, and gives your end users, enhances the end user experience even further. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jess to kind of bring us to the end, and we can start to take some Q&A questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Mo. Yeah, so we have a few questions. The first one, Mo, is for you. Does the video/image path change for different resolutions?
Oh, that's a good question. So the image and video paths do not change at all when we apply our automatic optimizations. So one of the really unique things about Akamai Image Manager is it does sit on the Akamai platform. So because we see all the requests as they come in, we're able to do these transformations for you effectively on our platform and then deliver a different type of asset out to the end user without you having to change any code or us having to change any of the code or any of the URLs. So in the example of the video that I showed where it was an MP4 being requested but a WebM being delivered, the actual path of the video does not change at all. We don't do any rewriting, and there's no burden on you as an end user or a developer to have to rewrite it yourselves as well. We're just going to be sending down a different asset type where appropriate.
Great. And the next question, Javier, this question is for you. With the API, can you still leverage the staging functionality and not only publish it directly to production?
I believe not at this time, but probably I'm guessing will come in the future via another header where you can indicate the network.
Okay. Thank you, Javier. And the next question, Mo, goes back to our video capability. How long does the video re-encoding take?
Yep. So it depends on the length of the video. So it's sort of variable to depending on the length of the video. The best way to answer that question would be if you have the ability to sign up for the bid and you've got kind of like some videos you want to send through, that would be the best way to answer it for like each and every individual use case. But again, it kind of depends on the length of the video. Videos that are really short, so like 5 seconds in length, should go really quickly. Videos that are a lot longer, let's say 5 minutes in length, would take obviously a little bit longer in time.
Okay. As a follow-up to that, does the video re-encoding happen when the user first requests a video?
Yes, so whenever the user makes a first request, so all Image Manager transformations, whether they are image optimizations, image transformations, or any of the video transformations that we showed, all happen at the time of the request. So we leverage our caching system pretty heavily to push and to keep all of the derivative assets that we create in cache so that we can deliver them out to the end user as quickly as possible and reduce that latency. If the assets aren't in the cache, then we have to do a transformation. And that's what we call the real-time or the cache miss-hit, where we'll pull the asset from your origin, we'll transform it, we'll cache and deliver it out to your end user. So the same way that images work, videos work as well. So if we don't have the variant video asset inside of cache, then that very first request for that video asset would mean we have to go, and that's when we would kick off that very first encoding that occurs.
Great. And Mo, one more for you in regards to video. Can we apply policies such as watermarks to the video?
So not a part of the current capabilities in the beta. That is something that we have on our roadmap, though, to give you the ability to apply watermarks and different types of artistic transformations. but that is something that we have on our roadmap for the near future.
Great, thank you. And Javier, I believe this question may be for you. In regards to policies, can we have multiple policies on a single request? For example, image policy equals first one, image policy equals second one.
Not, I believe the image policy only accept one. I mean, I will have to try it out, but you can apply several policies by using, the property manager. But I believe, Mo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the image policy can only be applied on a query string, right?
Yeah, so every image can accept a single policy being applied to it. In the property manager UI, or in the UI that Javier did a great job of walking us through, you can clone policies and build on top of them to create sort of superset policies. So if there are use cases where you want to build a superset policy, the UI definitely supports that, and then you can apply that policy on a single image URL. And then our dynamic policy, or the different variables that Javier walked through as well, should usually handle a lot of the use cases where we see the multiple policy question coming up.
Great. Thank you, Mo and Javier. And we have time for just two more questions. The first one, Mo, is Media Viewer a separate product or add-on to Image Manager, or do we already have access to it when we add Image Manager to our contract?
Yep. So if you have Image Manager, you already have access to the Media Viewer. There's no additional charge to it, so completely available, so you can download it and get started with it today.
Great. And last question. If we have an existing solution in place, can we keep our resize URLs the same with Image Manager?
Yes, definitely. So that's a really common question that comes in if you've already got kind of image URL paths already defined and you don't want to change them for one reason or another. Maybe you've standardized on them already. So one of the capabilities that we have is the ability to effectively have you define your own image URL APIs, basically. So you can keep the structure as is, and we can understand them when the requests come in on the Akamai platform, and then apply the right image manager policies, whether there are different types of resizes, crops, etc., for you, without you ever having to change your image URL paths. So totally possible, and something that's really, really common amongst image manager users to be able to keep the image URLs as is, and then just create a mapping at the edge that applies the right image manager policies when we see a certain pattern in the path.
Great. Thank you so much. That wraps it up for the time we have today, but if anyone has a question that didn't get answered, we'll absolutely follow up with you separately. And again, you will receive a recording of this webinar afterwards. And please do go to developer.akamai.com/image manager to learn more about everything we talked about today. Mo, Javier, thank you so much for your time, and for everyone on the line. We'll talk to you all again soon, hopefully. Thank you.